Alright, let's talk about the Davante Adams trade because, man, this is insane. The Las Vegas Raiders just traded Davante Adams to the New York Jets for a conditional third-round pick that could escalate to a second-rounder based on certain criteria. And honestly, this is a move that could shake up the entire AFC. We're talking about one of the best receivers in all of football, switching teams mid-season and landing with a team that's been fighting to stay alive with their 41-year-old franchise quarterback and part-time general manager. So, how does this affect both the Raiders and the Jets? Is this finally the move the Jets fans have been waiting for to win the AFC East? I don't think so. But let's start with the big question. Why would Davante Adams push for a trade with only 11 games left in the season? After all, this is a guy who chose to leave Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers for the Las Vegas Raiders back in 2022. We all know he wanted to reunite with his former college quarterback Derek Carr. But now, 2 years later, he's forcing his way out of Vegas. I think there is plenty of valid answers. First off, Adams was frustrated with the direction of the Raiders. They're sitting at 2-4 and at the bottom of the AFC West, and their offense is just a mess. They've only scored 12 touchdowns through 6 games. They're averaging just 4.8 yards per play, and they've turned the ball over 10 times. That's not what I'd call a winning formula. But it's not just for the stats. We all know Davante Adams doesn't really care to win. Adams was brought in to be the centerpiece of this offense, the wide receiver 1, and now he's watching his prime years slip away while the team just sucks. After Derek Carr was cut and replaced by Jimmy Garoppolo, but Adams lost the one connection that brought him to Vegas in the first place. He had to play with so many different quarterbacks last year, Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, and now Gardner Minshew. Can you blame the guy for winning out? Adams came into Vegas wanting to play with his best friend and potentially competing for a Super Bowl. And now he was stuck in a very, very bad franchise with no signs of competing anytime soon. But there's more to it than just football. It seems like Adams was also dealing with some type of personal friction with head coach Antonio Pierce. I mean, we saw his frustrating building earlier in the season. Adams was just mad all of last season because he was getting overthrown, hit really hard, and just been playing badly. I don't really know another way to put it. So just a couple weeks ago, reports surfaced that Adams requested a trade, and his top choice was either the Saints or the New York Jets. But what's the appeal of going to the New York Jets? A team that's at 2-4, just like the Raiders. Well, it's all about one guy. Aaron Rodgers, his former quarterback at Green Bay. Now, I still don't really understand why he'd want to go to the Jets. Honestly, I think I'd rather go to the Saints, just because I feel like they would benefit most. And I mean, the Jets just have so much problems right now. But I mean, we all know why he wanted to go. It's because he wanted to reunite with his old friend, Aaron Rodgers. But if you remember, this is the exact same mistake Adams made when he left the Packers to join Derek Carr in Vegas. Look, I get it. Adams and Rodgers were just perfect together in Green Bay. They were one of the most productive quarterback-wide receiver duos in the NFL ever. I'm pretty sure they had at least 7,500 yards and 68 touchdowns together, and their chemistry was undeniable. And it's no surprise that Adams would want to team up with Rodgers again. The Jets are in win-now mode, but it's really weird. They're definitely centered around Aaron Rodgers, and adding Davante Adams gives them one of the most dangerous receiving cores in the league. On paper, this trade makes sense for both sides. The Raiders get a 3rd or 2nd round pick, and doesn't take the cap, while the Jets did a true wide receiver 1. Now, we all know Rodgers tore his Achilles last year in week 1, and while he has come back this season, he hasn't really looked the best. So I mean, both of these guys are obviously past their prime, but they're certainly not holding the team back. I just think it's a little questionable that they're building their team around them. But at least he's not catching passes from Aiden O'Connell or Zach Wilson. Oh, imagine if he got traded last year. Whew! I don't need to tell you that that's a downgrade. Honestly, deep down, I don't even think Davante Adams cares about football right now, or even winning a Super Bowl. If that was the case, he would have went to a different team. I think there's just a part of him that wants to hang out with his friends and play the game he loves. Rodgers is probably his best buddy in the league, and Adams has always thrived playing alongside the people he trusts. And remember, this is the same guy who left the Packers even when they offered him the same contract as the Raiders, just so he could play with his old quarterback Derek Carr in. The dude just wants to hang out with the homies, and I respect it. But by chasing that bond with Rodgers again, I think Adams is repeating the same mistake he made with Carr. He's leaving a bad situation in Vegas, sure, but the Jets aren't exactly the model of stability. Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old, coming off a devastating injury, and he hasn't really been playing at the high level you would expect him to. But can we all trust that the Jets will get their act together and win a Super Bowl, or at least come close? From a football standpoint, it seems like Davante Adams is taking a huge gamble again. Sure, there's a chance that with Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers goes full MVP mode again, and the Jets make a deep playoff run this season. But there's also a very real possibility that Adams traded from one mediocre team to another. And as a Dolphins fan, I have to say, I've seen the Jets mess up way too many times to believe that this is going to go as smoothly as people think. Speaking about the Jets as a franchise, let's just talk about them for a second. Right now they're 2-4, sitting at 3rd place in the AFC East. Or should I say AFC least, because we're all kind of mid. But their offense has been pretty rough to watch. They had a pretty cool game against the Patriots. But other than that, they've been really bad. They've only scored 13 touchdowns through 6 games, and they're averaging just 4.4 yards per play. I don't even think it's better than the Raiders. So they really needed to make a move to shake things up to actually be a contender. And by bringing in Adams, they're hoping to give Aaron Rodgers some life in him, to make him happy. And as I said earlier, Rodgers has shown flashes of his MVP days, but he's very inconsistent right now. And adding in a guy like Adams to the offense could really help him out. But it's all going to come down to whether the Jets as a team can come up. Right now, they don't even have a head coach. They're using their defensive coordinator, which I would think isn't really the best for offense, since their offensive coordinator sucks ass. But the Jets are clearly still holding out hope that Rodgers will come back and lead this team to glory. But there's still no guarantee that he'll be the same as he was back in his Green Bay days. And even if he does return to his MVP days, how long can he realistically play for such a high level? The Jets are betting their future on a 41-year-old quarterback coming off a torn Achilles, and now they're doubling down by trading for a pretty old receiver who's already missed time this season with a hamstring injury. That might be real fate. I think it was just a leverage play. I don't know, man. As much as I hate it, the Jets are making a bold move here, but it feels like they're playing with fire, and we've seen how that usually ends for them. And let's be real here. There's a very real chance that this trade does not work out the way the Jets hope. If Aaron Rodgers can't make the most out of having Davante Adams, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall on the field, this team could easily end up in the same spot they're in right now. And if that does happen, where does Davante Adams go from here? He's already in his 30s, and while he's still one of the best receivers in the game, time is running out for him to win a Super Bowl. If he even wants to, I don't think he does. But if the Jets fail to make the playoffs this year, and Rodgers doesn't come back at full strength, I think they both retire together. I think that's ultimately the big plan here. And it's hard not to feel for Davante Adams. This guy just wants to play with his homies. But in being on those teams with his friends, he puts himself in a situation that he can end his career without a ring. He left Green Bay because he wasn't sure about Jordan Love, and Aaron Rodgers was kind of going a little psychotic. And now he's leaving Vegas for obvious reasons. Alright, now, I have to bring this back to my Dolphins for a second. As a fan, I'm obviously not thrilled about the idea of facing Davante Adams twice a year. He's still one of the best receivers in the league, and pairing him with Garrett Wilson will be a nightmare, especially for our defense. But you want to know why I'm not that scared? They have a long history of finding ways to mess things up. I'm not convinced Aaron Rodgers is completely washed, but his MVP days are definitely behind him. They have no head coach halfway through the season, and do I have to remind you guys again? It's the Jets. Come on now. They can definitely stand in the way of my precious Dolphins. Since Tua isn't back, Tyreek is washed, and Waddle is just doing Waddle things, I guess. And the offensive line is just, I don't even know what they are anymore. Bad. They're worse than bad, actually. But despite that, I still don't see the Jets winning this division. Aaron Rodgers is 41, and bro is not Tom Brady. But where do the Raiders go from here? With Adams gone, it's clear that they're in full rebuild mode. This offense is going to struggle even more than it already has. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders end up with a top 5 or even top 3 pick in the NFL draft. The big question for them is, who's their next quarterback? Do they go after and draft a quarterback like Carson Beck, Cam Ward, or even go full-on receiver or cornerback and draft somebody like Travis Hunter? I think they're going to draft Shedeur Sanders because they're the Raiders and they're known for making just stupid decisions. Adding Davante Adams gives the Jets a huge boost. There's still too many question marks around this team, like, Can Aaron Rodgers elevate his game again? What's happened to the coaching staff? Because I don't think a defensive coordinator is going to be that good. And again, as a Dolphins fan, I'm staying cautiously optimistic. The Jets got better, but they're still not the team to beat in the division. Not yet, anyway. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.